Alright, hey everybody, TG here. Let's get things rocking and rolling. So I hope everyone's having a good time out there. We are into December now, so we're going to be talking about a few things, seeing what we can do for the rest of the year going forward, and if we can get anything exciting on the books. One other thing I did want to tell everybody is that we actually just had a webinar just the other day. Let's say today's Tuesday, or Wednesday. We had that on Monday. And what happened was I was able to double most of my accounts. I actually got 112% on one account using just stock, and I did it in 12 trading days. And those who were part of the Moxie group, the Moxie Mastery, which is where we get Profit Pilot from and all that, they were along for the ride. And we were getting people who were upwards of 50%, 75%, even more account growth. And this isn't just like on a trade. I'm talking the entire account went up 50, 75, or 100% in 12 trading days. And for me, it's really just trading stock. And what I want to show you is, if you guys are interested in seeing the replay, the webinar that I had showing you some of the stocks of how I did it, where it was, you can go up here to simplertrading.com slash, I think it's trampoline replay. We're going to be posting that in the chat box here, so look for that in just a moment. And then wanted to show you, let's see, we can kind of move that over. And then here is a screenshot from one of the slides that I had on that. And this isn't to be boasting, this isn't to be like, look at me. This is to show you that what I'm doing, what I'm capable of, and how other people have been able to succeed with it. So me having a great day, me making all this money and having a great account gain also means everyone else who is following me is having just as good of a time as well. And so that's really what I want to show you. And I have multiple different accounts I trade for various reasons, but for those who have a bigger account, maybe want to be a little bit slower and don't want necessarily, quote unquote, the risk of options, or want to be able to still trade the market and take matters into your own hands, this is my Roth account, and I like to trade a little bit slower. And even at that, it went 70% in 12 trading days. It went from like 1.3 and change to 2.3 and change, and you could see the graph of the account gain on this. And then for those of you who have smaller accounts, I want to show you. I trade my accounts pretty much the same. So there are slight variations maybe about how much I take of one name versus the other, but I trade them the same, and you can see that by the arrows that I point out. You can see these little burbles and dips. It's the same burble and dip in both accounts no matter the trading size, because I trade them basically the same. And you can see this one went from $42,000 to $85,000 in 12 trading days, and that was 102% gain just stock. And so this is what I teach, this is how I do it, and I just want everybody to know that this is out there and what I'm showing you. As I said, we're posting that link in here for the replay of the webinar. And then if you guys want to learn a little bit more about me and what I'm up to, this is my website, profit-pilot.com, and you can go over here and check out the doubling my account in 12 days. It was kind of funny because the rest of the team, the marketing and the advertising, were trying to get this notice out to people that I was going to be making this webinar. And every day, the marketing that we were sending out, the communications we were sending out were wrong, because every day I was having the account kept growing every day by several percent in order to hit 100% in 12 days. I didn't plan it. I didn't even make this number up. I didn't know what I was going to be expecting, but it was a great ride and we had a fun time. So want to make sure everybody knows about that. And anybody who wants to get more information about the service and come check it out, you go over here to services, come over to the subscription, which is the Moxie Mastery. And then if you're interested in the class and the indicator and all the tools, then you can come over here to the Moxie Stock Method. So enough of all that stuff in the front. I just want to make sure we get out there so people know who I am, where to find things, and if you want to get on board. So good to see everybody. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments here, any kind of particular stocks or tickers or names or sectors that you're looking at. And then we'll be diving in. I'll be looking at the comments and we could see where we go from there. So overall, the market is doing wonderfully, right? We've been seeing ever since the vaccine news has come out that for the most part the market's been great. Of course, the names that need a vaccine most have been doing the best, and tech has kind of gotten hit, okay? Well, I imagine that there's probably some of that excitement's going to calm down, mostly because those names, airlines, cruise lines, hotels, casinos, all those names have gotten just so overbought. I imagine that they're going to calm down at some point and want to pull back a little bit and find some support. And I kind of figure some of that rotation will go into the bigger cap tech names, the NASDAQ and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of my overall view of what's going to be happening as far as a rotation around the market. And then the S&P is stuck right in the middle, okay? As far as what we see here, yeah, we're making new all-time highs. So market's doing great. Now, this isn't to say, okay, you can just put on blinders and not look around anything and just go totally long and not worry about anything. There are always pullbacks. There are always liquidation breaks. In fact, we saw some earlier this week. I think maybe traders are coming back from the Thanksgiving break, feeling a little heavy with the turkey in their stomach, and they just said, all right, let's drop this thing and let's get some better prices, and then we can go long again. And we saw that Monday morning. So just never be surprised that no matter how good the market looks, there can always be pullbacks, there can always be drops, and sometimes the names that you're looking at are not doing so hot. So let me then show you some of what that action has been. In the webinar that I gave, I broke my record as far as how much percentage I made in a single name on just stocks, and it was IDEX, which was kind of in the EV related space. I made 315% on that thing, and everyone else was on the ride for that one with me as well. Now, what I keep telling people is, you can't hang on to something like this. When these things go just parabolic and just go straight up and move away from all levels of support, they're going to come back down hard. And they might have a second opportunity, they might keep going, but that first one out the gate or any other time that they get up and get crazy like that, you got to take your money and run because they come back hard. And you can see that with IDEX. I mean, we bought it. Let's see. We bought it down here. We sold it up here, and now look where it is. But maybe it's setting up again. Okay. But I'm going to give it some time because it's still not quite an entry for me. So, you know what? This might be the low. This might be the pullback that could have been the best pullback buy ever. But we don't know that yet, or at least I don't know that yet based on how I trade. So I'm still giving stuff like this a lot of time. And then we can see some of the leaders, like Neo, having a really, really great time. We've been in it for, I don't know, 140 something percent. We've been trading it a little bit in between. I do have one piece that I want to keep on longer term, and this is what I'm talking about. We actually exited right there for the newest piece that we had. I've got my reasons. I teach it when I have these courses and through the Moxie channel and all that kind of stuff. And thank goodness we got out because look what it did this morning. The bottom fell out. Now, I will say there's still a lot of energy into it. These names are not over. They're just not ready right now. They definitely need to take a break. They've gotten way, way overbought. And you can see at least the good news in that NIO actually came right back up to where it closed yesterday. So that's good news. A lot of buying interest. But if you weren't prepared, something like that is going to make a pretty big dent in your account. And so fortunately, as I said, we actually exited right there at that line. And so we didn't even have to deal with any of this. So we're still on the lookout to see if any of this is going to be good opportunities to get back in and get buying. And then, yeah, there are a lot of good other names out there. Just sometimes I try and keep a tight stop, and then they get tagged, and then that's fine. If they start moving, we'll get back into them. So let's see. Yeah, Imran, good to see you guys. Everybody else, Bhaskar, always welcome. We got a lot of Moxie members that like to come into the YouTube channels and to Facebook, so I like seeing that. All right, then SND. Let's see what you got there, Imran. Let's see. Overall, yeah, that kind of looks okay. Volume, might want to check out the volume. It looks a little sporadic. I'm getting like 200,000 shares traded per day. Yeah, I see on the big days it gets over 1 million to 2 million, so it seems a little weird. Might want to check out and see what this thing is. Smart sand, don't know anything about that. Maybe it's related to oil, the oil industry. So this thing's had a pretty good run. I like to wait till after earnings when I get in to trade something like this because there's almost always an opportunity to get in. And what you can see for me, that opportunity is here when you get that trampoline move right there. And a trampoline move is when price is below the 50, but the Moxie indicator is above 0. And so then you can see it continue to bounce off the hourly 50, and then boom, that's when it had its move. So they got a little hot, a little overheated. You could see that on the daily chart getting outside of the 30 ATRs, but maybe it's getting ready again. This could be another trampoline move right there. Price below the 50, the Moxie indicator above 0. And if we look a little bit closer, maybe we're getting a double bottom. Maybe this will be actually the double bottom, and you can see it kind of going back to that area right there. I'd like to see it kind of engage with the 15-minute 50 a little bit more. It's a typical thing I like to see. So maybe by the end of the day, we'll see what price can do with the 15-minute 50. Either it needs to bounce off of it, or at the very least, it needs to stay over it. So just kind of keep an eye on that. It might need a little bit more time because the Moxie indicator here on the 15 I don't know, doesn't look totally satisfied yet. You know, they're still spread, meaning they don't really agree with each other too much, and then also they're one of them, well, almost both of them are below zero. So we might be just a little bit too early on something like this name. Now, let me kind of sidestep over here. Let me show you space. Hey, Rubberhead, good to see you guys. Yeah, you guys always have different screen names here and there, so I have to keep track of who's whose. So thanks for letting me know what's going on. So now space. You guys talk about that trampoline move that I have right here. We had price dip below the hourly 50. The Moxie indicator was above zero. Thing bounced off of the daily 21. You can see that even the Moxie indicator fired on the daily chart, and the Moxie indicator had fired on the hourly chart just a little bit before. So I was on actually a 5-day road trip when space was starting to move like this, and I was like, okay, I know there was definitely a trade here, and I was on a road trip. I couldn't get it, but you know what? I've done this long enough. There's almost always a second opportunity to get back in, and what I could see on this daily chart, let me kind of zoom in on that section because then it'll make a little bit more sense as well. So this area right here where I was trying to think, how am I going to get into this thing? I want to get in. I know this is a good name. I just need that opportunity. Well, look at the daily chart. You see how far price was off of the daily 8 EMA? I could tell it was a little overbought. At some point, something's going to happen. Now, I think they had an excuse that one of the flights were delayed or something like that, but whatever. It's just an opportunity to get price at a lower point, and sure enough, we did when price got underneath the 50 with the Moxie indicator above zero, and then look at this on the 15. It bounced off the 15-minute 50, and then we wrote it up, and what I say, guys, this morning, I think it was something like 33% gain, and we took a little bit off today. So pretty nice, solid 33% gain. I'd love to get more back into this name whenever it recycles for us. All right, yeah, let's see some of the cannabis. So ACB, one of those cannabis names. Overall, I think this thing's doing fine. If we look, let's see if I can get the higher time frame charts. If we look here, keep in mind what's going on, okay? Maybe this is some stuff with the new administration being more relaxed with drug policy, or at least cannabis policy specifically. Just a thought. But the other more major thought is that with this election, more states legalized cannabis. More states got on board. More states made it okay for medicinal purposes. I think the cat's out of the bag. I don't really see cannabis going back to where it was before, where it's been shunned and highly illegal or anything like that. I really do think that we're kind of making waves to actually make this thing kind of fully accepted. So we'll see where that goes. But look at ACB as the example. Do you see the volume coming in here on the weekly time frame? And then do you see the volume that came in on the monthly time frame when the election happened and more states got legalized? This is finding those footsteps out there, okay? This is that big picture kind of stuff that I think something like cannabis, they had their day. When all this stuff started becoming legalized a little bit, or becoming mainstream, or even just getting on the stock market, that was really big back in the day. Now, I think we're getting around too, because look at this weekly chart. We have a lower low. Basically, that's like an undercut double bottom, and the Moxie indicator keeps moving up on the weekly time frame. This is pretty big. And look at this, on the weekly time frame, the 8 is starting to cross the 21. It couldn't do that before. It didn't do it before. There was a huge moat between the 8 and 21. Now that moat is gone, and it's almost crossing. And then on the monthly time frame, look at this. We have price actually starting to cross over the monthly 10. That's good news. There is real change happening on these charts that I see developing. So if we kind of look a little bit lower and we look at this, and it's funny, the Moxie subscribers kind of joke around a little bit with me saying that I got a crystal ball. Well, it didn't work yesterday on MaxR, but I still think that setup is valid. So we're going to talk about that one too. But we got in right here when price got over the 15-minute 50 and the Moxie indicator was looking solid, and back over here on the hourly chart. Everything looked pretty good. And then overnight, we got a 20% pop, and then it just kept running. I think, what do we get out of that one? Something like, we got about 60% gain. Pretty nice gain. Now, I could have feathered this one a little bit. I could have taken a little bit off up here. I could see it was getting a little extended, could have done that. But I think that there's a bigger picture here. Remember, I think on the weekly and the monthly time frame, I think that there's some really good movements here. And I wanted to not be too nimble about this one. I wanted to say, okay, let's see what this does with the hourly 50. And so far, it looks like it's coming back down to the hourly 50. The Moxie indicator is still above zero, and price is coming down to the daily 8 EMA. I don't see anything wrong with this yet. I think that there's something happening here. I want to be on board for it, and I don't want to miss any surprise moves up that, because I was trying to feather my position too much. So this one I'm going to just hang on to a little bit longer. And look at this. You can see that there's a lot of volume coming into this, even here on these moves up. So I imagine, no guarantees, no promises, no suggestions or recommendations, but I imagine that dips should be viable in something like this, and along with some of the other cannabis names. And price is really trying to get past the daily 200, which probably is a little bit of a burden right here, right now. But overall, I think we might be on to a new wave of something like this. All right, let's see, was that T-Mobile or something? And it's not a AT&T. Yeah, okay, AT&T. Not really a stock that I trade too much. Let me look at the weekly and monthly. Check this out. So I am seeing that double bottom again that I was just pointing out on ACB. So you've got some work to do, but here's that double bottom. And with that double bottom, I call it an elf shoe. Here's your leg, here's your heel, there's the archer foot, there's the ball of your foot. Now we're looking for that elf toe. Just because it's double bottoming and wanting to move doesn't mean that you can just, not manipulate this a little bit, but it does look like it's trying, does look like it's starting. On the hourly chart, you can see this was a trampoline move, price below the 50, the Moxie indicator above zero, all that kind of stuff, and now you have price bouncing off of the hourly 50. That should be pretty good. You can see it's also holding here on the 15-minute time frame. And then, yeah, daily chart looks pretty good. I don't see too much there. Just don't be surprised that this is the absolute beginning of this overall trend coming out of a major long-term double bottom on the weekly time frame. And just don't be surprised, like ACB, if it comes up to the 200, then wants to come back down and then kind of go up, or maybe if it kind of comes up, then wants to hit the daily 50 and then go back up. There could be a lot of movement in this name until it really gets going. But I would say that the major overall theme with this is it's got a double bottom on the weekly time frame, and it's probably trying to start moving up in the longer term. F. Sieber, something, were we talking about that one? Something. I didn't really see what you were referencing there. And then let's see, EQNR. Yeah, some of these are names I don't know. Is this one oil related? Yeah, Equinor, I don't know this one particularly. And I'm guessing it's oil related. And oil, if you guys want to know, is kind of doing the same thing that a lot of these industries are doing. And I think it comes along with the whole vaccine news, vaccine play. They've been hammered and beat up for a very long time. They've just kind of been percolating along the bottom. And so I think that now that we get some of this news, things are starting to come up. And what we're seeing are these, essentially these double bottoms right here with positive divergence. And you can see here on this one, price is starting to cross the weekly 50. It's now over the monthly 10. So yeah, on a longer term basis, this thing looks like it's starting to go. And yeah, this looks a lot like oil. And you can see here it crossed the daily 50, and then it's just been following the hourly 50 like that. So yeah, that's been doing pretty well. Again, kind of what I was talking about earlier with the IWM and some of these small cap names, they seem a little extended up here. I would not be surprised if they need to do a little bit of a pullback, I don't know, somewhere, something like that, and then they get going again. So just don't be surprised if they're going to do kind of a multi-day or multi-week pullback into support on the daily time frame. All right, so let me kind of circle back one more time. I want to make sure everybody who's just tuning in, since we're coming towards the 3/4 of the way through here, I put out a webinar on Monday talking about how I doubled my account. Oh, I clicked the X on that one. I doubled my account in 12 trading days using just stock, and all the followers, all the subscribers for the Moxie group were able to kind of do the same thing. They got anywhere from 50 to 75%. I'd be very interested to see who got the highest percentage, who's in the Moxie group. So if you guys are watching this, maybe let me know what your percentage gain was, and we'll see who else got the highest. But here are some examples. You guys can go. We're posting the replay in there about it and about the sectors that I traded, the sectors that I think are still going to keep going, and what I think is going to be happening in 2021 as far as some of these sectors, because you know what, things are changing. There's going to be money going in certain places, and we need to take advantage of that. So if you guys are interested, come check me out at profitpilot.com. You can read the whole thing that I put out here, doubling my account in 12 days using just stock. and then we can kind of get back into it. All right, let's see what you're all looking at. And then GMHI. Oh, fun one. What is this? Is this Metropolis? I don't know. Is this EV related? Yeah, this looks like another one of those ones where if you caught it right, you had a really, really great time. But just like I was talking about IDEX and AYRO and NEO and a lot of the other electric EV plays, they caught fire like nobody's business. And you could make a lot of money, but you gotta know when to get out. You gotta know when price is way, way, way up there. And fortunately, the way that I trade and how I follow these things, you could see actually that that was a pretty good opportunity to get out right about there. They just aren't going to keep going forever, okay? Now, something like this, hey, I'll put this on my list because there might be an opportunity for this thing to circle back at some point. It went from, let me see if I can get my other screen up here so I can see the volume. This thing was what? Nothing volume. 193,000 shares, 64,000 shares. Then it finally got some attention. Looks like about 2 million shares traded per day. And then it really hit. Let's see what this thing peaked out at. 14 million shares, 5 million shares. So yeah, a lot of these things were like no name, no nothing types companies and stocks, and then somehow they kind of got some attention, and then it just all exploded. Now, we'll have to see. Are these things just flashes in the pan? They very well might be. Does anybody remember IGC back in the day with some of these cannabis stuff? Or even Tilray? What about Tilray? Remember back here, it went from 30 something dollars to $300. And then what did it do? It just fizzled after that. So this is something you really need to be prepared for that might happen with some of these EV names. So don't think that you're going to be jumping onto something that is going to be, oh, maybe revolutionary. It might be with Tesla, it might be with NEO, it might be with some of these other companies, but a lot of these EV names, they just kind of catch fuel and fire because of where they are, and then they all fizzle again. So just be careful of that. Speaking to Tilray, as I said earlier, it does seem to me though, now, I mean, look at this daily chart. This thing is crazy. Look at what it did, and look for how long. I can't even say, like, late 2018, and now it's late 2020. So 2 years, this stock basically just dwindled and dwindled and dwindled and didn't go anywhere. And only now it looks like they're finally starting to wake up again. So just remember, that is a possibility with some of these EV names. Hey, we might be in a really great EV sector. They might really be taking off, but when the music stops, they might just hang out and do nothing for the next 2 years after that. So just be careful where you trade and how you do it. Yeah, native. So let's see. SNDL. Speaking of, yep, with the this one was suggested to me in the Moxie group. Kicking myself for not taking it, right? I took ACB instead, but this one, look at this thing. From where, I don't know if it's you because of your screen name, but wherever it was brought to my attention, it did go up 100 and 180, 190%. On average, it went up about 142%. That's some good stuff. That was what I was able to catch with the EV names. And same thing, when these things shoot up like this, maybe take a little bit off just in case they don't last, and then we can see if there's another opportunity. So this one is on my list. Clearly, it went from no volume to some volume to a lot of volume. I think that was like 140. Let's get over here. Let's see if how much that was. Yeah, 200 million shares. Absolutely insane. I don't even know what, geez, that is huge. Absolutely huge. It's just massive numbers on that thing. So even today, it's up to 346 million, something like that. My goodness, that's just unheard of. So now what I'm trying to say is these things are crazy. This is a penny stock. It's 30 cents. It's now 70 cents. There is the possibility that this thing will keep going. You're gonna have to trade it properly. These moves are crazy. If you get in on something, just expect, like when it came off its high, it went down. Let's see, let me kind of go here. It went down 30%. You need to be prepared for some of these moves if you're going to try and ride these things. So either put less money on it so it doesn't drive you crazy, or just be prepared for this stuff to go up and go down in really, really big swings. Now, I do like that there is that much volume coming in. That is great. It means that some people are seeing some things and that we should probably be looking at this, but we got to find the right opportunity. So I'm going to be looking at this stuff. I've been looking at cannabis. Yeah, it's an exciting time to be in the market with a lot of these names that I covered out there. All right, then Boeing, Jungle, let's take a look at Boeing. they're going to be benefiting from the vaccine news and all that. Let me look real quick here. Sorry, my screens are kind of one on top of the other. You can see the same thing that I was talking about, the energy sector, and also with some of these other names that are finally starting to get someplace. What we're doing is we're getting these giant double bottoms on the weekly time frame right there. Double bottom, positive divergence, we're even in a squeeze, and prices just now starting to break past the monthly 10. Now, what I will caution is I believe that this move has been the first move. So the first move is kind of when price jumps up, and then they tend to fade, they tend to pull back, and then they have to come back and find that support, and then they can reload again. So I think we're kind of in that section where they could probably use a little bit of a cooling off. Do you see how there's this big gap between price and the 8 EMA? Do you also see how price is right at this previous high? Okay, it's very extended, so just be aware that I don't think these things are going to just keep going, going, going from right where they are. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised if kind of in the near future, this might actually be the recent high, and we might be getting some sort of pullback, find some support, and then we can start getting going again sometime down the road. So if that makes sense to you guys, I've done my due diligence of telling you, hey, just watch out for a pullback, and that way you at least have a roadmap as to what could possibly be happening. All right, then let's see, Nectar, NKTR, I haven't heard that name in a while. Let's see what it's doing. Okay, yeah, well, this is why I haven't heard that name in a while, because it just hasn't been doing anything. Now, possibly, this does look interesting. I always like it when you guys bring new names to my attention so I can see what's going on, because there's so many names out there and I get too busy with some of them. All right, so price down on the daily, Moxie indicator up, so that's starting to slow price down. Then what do we get? Then we get a double bottom, and we continue to get the Moxie indicator moving up. Do you guys see how that whole thing worked out? And like you see that it slows down through the indicator, and then you see actually we're testing lows again, and then the indicator's actually saying, oh, I want to keep going up and up and up. So that's the whole process. And for those of you who want to get the Moxie indicator, you can get it at Profit Pilot. But notice how kind of been through here. Price could not get past the daily 50. But now look what. Now price is actually starting to break past the daily 50. So this thing looks good. Something looks like it's happening. Giant squeeze going on. The stochastic is coming off the low. Now let's take a look at the hourly and the 15 because I see some details here. Ojas, oh, nice. Appreciate you bringing this to me. I love my subscribers. This is great. You guys bring me some good ones. So look at this on the 15-minute time frame. You see how price is going down like that? You see how the Moxie indicator is going up like that? There's your positive divergence. And in fact, you can even see that here on the last 2 or 3 days. And then the Moxie indicator went completely flat on the 15, along with a squeeze on the 15-minute time frame. So there's your pop. Okay. Now, Ojas, I think you know this. This is what I call this the first move. Okay, the first move is just when price is breaking past the 50. Okay, we got that Moxie price trigger firing. You got that squeeze. Everything's looking pretty good on this. Now, at some point, this thing will most likely pull back, and it will give us a great second entry at a lower price. Because who wants to buy right here? Yeah, it might keep running for, I don't know, a day or 2 or 3. We don't know. It could even turn around later today. But at some point, and I've seen this movie enough times, that at some point this thing's probably going to come back down, the hourly 50 is going to turn around, they're going to meet, and then that's going to be where they go. And that's what I'd be looking for. So yeah, Ojas, thanks for bringing that to me. I'm going to be putting that on the list, and then don't be surprised if I make that some sort of trade in the future. Let's take a quick look at the monthly, weekly, see if there's anything there. Okay, so Nectar. I remember this one back in the day. This is what I'm talking about with some of these EV names. Like, look at this. You get these massive runs, and then they just collapse. Okay? So as long as you understand that with some of this, with the solars, with the EV names, with Riot, Bitcoin, any of this stuff that just seems too good to be true, it probably is. There's going to be a time where they just don't last. And look at this. Nectar has come all the way back to where it was, all the way back. Full circle. That's what these things do sometimes. So that being said, maybe price is kind of here bumping along the monthly 200, and then price is here. We're getting some divergence. We're getting a weekly Moxie price trigger, all that kind of stuff. So this one would be tradable. I think we need to be really short term with this. This isn't something that I see really a new trend yet, but I think it could be some tradable stuff down below. Just understand that context with it. All right, so we're going to be wrapping up here. So we got some questions. How do you get the Moxie indicator? You come over here to profitpilot.com and then you click on services. And if you're interested in my mastery, which is the subscription service where I tell people all the trades I'm taking and we just doubled our accounts in 12 days, that's where you can get that. If you want to take things into your own hands, if you want to follow along the way that I do so that you can start finding this stuff, you get the price triggers, you get the scanner, you get the tool, you get all this kind of stuff. You get everything I have. And you come over here to the Moxie stock method and you can take the class with the indicator, get all that stuff, and then you can go check it out. And then really one more time for anybody who wants to see this, if you guys want to see kind of the sectors and the groups and the places that I think that the market's going to be going 2021, come check out the webinar. We have a replay here. It's up here at simplertrading.com/trampoline replay. And then we can all have a good time talking about this and seeing what comes true in 2021. All right, guys. Well, I think I pretty much got all that. I'll look back through some of these things, their tickers that you mentioned, and I'll write them down if they're interesting. So, always appreciate you guys looking at this. Welcome to December. Let's see if we have a good rest of the year coming into the new year, the Santa Claus rally as we usually get. But as I said in the beginning, just remember, there's always the potential for a pullback. There's always the potential for something to change. We just need to be ever vigilant about that and make sure we set our stops and make sure we take the right opportunities and just don't be surprised when things change. All right, guys, I will catch you later. Enjoy.